Okay, this is the 13th in a series of videos on the techniques for construction of a workload tracker for physicians or an RVU tracker. For those of you who've been following along in the last video, we were working back and forth between two forms, FRM main, which I'll bring up here. We have some buttons on the form, and the buttons are now being controlled to some degree by temporary variables. We developed a on embedded macro on a button, which we called temp variable test. And just looking quickly at this, we showed how to set up temporary variables, and then as a way to check those temporary variables, you can display it in a message box. And we set up temporary variables for CPT, description, and the work RVUs. Now, the other thing we were working back and forth between the form FRM list add, I'll open that in design view, bring up the property sheet. And for those of you who recall, this has an embedded macro on the onload event. And where we left off last time, we substituted in the temporary variable for the CPT code for the set property CPT add. Now we haven't done that for the set property for description or the set property for the RVU value, but we can do that during this video. So we'll close that, save and close that, and we'll go back to FRM main, and we'll open this up in layout view. We can then go back to our on-click embedded macro for this button, hit the ellipsis, and we'll notice we have a temporary variable for CPT, which is, for this particular CPT, fund needle aspiration is 10021. All right, well, the next thing we want to do is set some more temporary variables. And you can start typing SETT, and that will recognize that that's a temporary variable, and we can move it right away up to the front, just below the other temporary variable that we created. And we're going to call this temporary variable VAR DES. And the variable we want to create will now be based on a, let's see, maybe we'll go to the build area. On a Dlookup. And since we're going to look up the description of the CPT code in our table TBL data, we need to tell the Dlookup to do that. So as you may recall, it was called DESCRIP. Close brackets, double quotation marks. And as I hit a comma here, it's going to move to bold in the thing called domain. And the domain that we're going to look in is TBL data. Another close quotation marks and another comma. And the criteria that will look up this value is quotation mark CPT. That's the field when CPT equals, and I'm just typing equal, and now another close quotation marks. When that ampersand is equal to quotation marks, bracket, and then here's where it gets just a little bit different, because we're going to now reference the temporary variable that we set in the first part of this script, this macro. So this is going to be temp vars, VARS, bracket, bang notation, bracket, VAR, CPT. All right, close bracket and close quotation, close parentheses. We'll set OK. Now to see that that works, we can do our standard thing that we like to do to visualize whether it's working or not. We'll create a message box, and we can scroll back up to this Dlookup, copy the whole thing, right-click and copy. We can go back to our message box, put in an equal sign, and Control V. And move our message box up to a point just below the temporary variable. And when we run the macro, hopefully it will initially set the temporary variable VARCPT to this number, and then the next temporary variable VARDES will be based on a Dlookup, which we look up the description code from the TBL data when the CPT in the TBL data equals this temporary variable, and that this actually equates to 10021. All right, well, let's save it. All right, something is not going on right. Okay, forgot a quotation marks. They are pretty picky about the specifics of some of these things, so quotation marks, close quotation marks, save and close. Okay, that worked. Okay, let's right-click Save, right-click, go to Form View, and what I'm hoping is I'll click here, and the first thing you'll see is a message box pop up, which will then grab the descriptive term for TBL data. We can go to that and look at it. So here's the CPT code. Here's the field name, DESCRIP, for fine needle aspiration without imaging. And just to prove to you that it's working, we can even add something. Okay, let's just add hello there. We can take that off whenever we want to. Save and close. All right, so let's click here. And there it is, FNA without imaging and hello. And after I click OK, we should generate another line here. And it'll probably say Monday. There it is. Okay. Everything's working. We can go back to our TBL data and remove hello. Save and close. Click it again, and it'll do the same thing without the hello. Okay, I think it's working. Okay, so we'll go back to the layout view, back to our on-click embedded macro. And now that we have this set as our temporary variable, we can copy this, Control C, or right click and copy, save and close, and we can go now to, and we can save and close this, go to our FRM list and open it in design view, bring up our property sheet, go to the onload embedded macro, and for our property sheet here, we have hardwired, if you will, the name FNA without imaging here. We're now able to change this to a Dlookup. It's that same temporary variable that we assigned. And to prove to you it's working, we can put a message box, and we can put equals, Control V, and we can move this right up to here. Save and close, save and close. And we can go back to FRM main and open it up in layout view onto our on-click embedded macro. And let's remove this message box. We already proved that that one works. Save and close. Save and go to form view. Now when I click here, I think we're still going to see that same message box, but it's not the message box because it's in this embedded macro. It is based on the embedded, that's not what I wanted to do. It's based on the embedded macro on the set properties value here. All right, if this works, we will do it also for work RVU. Save and close, and we'll click here. There it is. And everything seems to be working well. Same thing, we'll do that one more time, but we'll go to layout view, go to our on-click embedded macro, and we'll set another temporary variable. And we can immediately drag it up to a position below CPT, description, and we can call this variable VAR RVU. And we can copy this and paste it here. And all we have to change, everything is exactly the same, except the field that we're going to be looking up is the RVU field from TBL data when the CPT code equals temp vars VAR CPT. So this is what we are going to be using as our criteria, okay, criteria for determining what value goes in here. Let's save this, copy this, save and close, save and close, go back to, oh, maybe I'm off on this. Oh, okay. Right. Message box. Okay, I think we're all right. Close, save and close. Look at one more time the form view, the on-click event here. All right, we're in good shape. So the we have three variables: VAR CPT, variable description, and variable RVU. The description and the RVU are both Dlookups based on this value. Save and close. Save and close. We'll go back to list RVU, open it up in design view, check the embedded macro, and I think we can get rid of, well, we'll hold this one back for a minute, and we'll do this set property, and we'll put an equal sign here, and then the control V. And so this value then will be the based on the temporary variable that we assigned with the embedded macro with that button. Okay, and we can move this down one. All right, and change this to RVU. Save and close. Open up form main. So when we click this button, it brings up the value of the RVU based on the CPT code 10021. If we click it again, we'll create a new record. And there it is. All right, well, we're really getting close to a stopping point here. Let's save and close this, go back to our FRM list in design view to our embedded macro, and we can remove this message box. Save and close. And actually after this, we really don't have to ever look at this form again. This form is the machinery behind the FRM main. We'll open that, and let's make a new button. And we can go to Arrange, Insert Below, make this size the same as the one above, 0.25. We can take a button, a new button, and place it in here. Cancel that. We can give it a new name. 99 and then 244. I happen to know this. The RVU value for that is 3.02, and it is a office consult. Office con. How about that? Click away. Yeah. Okay. Now let's save and go to the button that we just created. Go to the on-click event. Open up the embedded macro. And here's where it gets a little easier. Okay, you can collapse all, and it collapses all of these different steps, and expand this one. And you can do Control A, which highlights all of the fields, grays them out. Control C, which copies it. Save and close. Go to the button that you just created on the on-click event, and it's going to ask you to choose a builder, a macro builder, and you can put the cursor bar automatically opens up in here, and do a Control V, and now we can do one thing, change this to 99244, save and close, save and form view, and if everything works right, I click here. We have just created a new button without ever going to FRM list, and you can click it as many times as you want. Let's pick another, let's pick one 130. Close this, show you how fast you can actually make a button. So now we can call this, what was it, 130, I don't remember the other details. Go to the click event, the ellipsis, the macro builder, the Control V, the 130, the save and close, the save and form view, and click here, and now we've just created another button very quickly. So that was probably less than 30 seconds. Okay, well, now we have, just by a quick way of review, we have set 3 temporary variables. The first one in this case defines the value of the CPT code. The other temporary variables use that variable, temp vars variable CPT, as their criteria for doing a Dlookup, and it looks up the descriptive code here, and the same is true then for the temporary variable for looking up the work RVU value in the table data. It then opens the form FRM list add, which has an onload event, and that onload event has set properties. Those set properties then use the 3 temporary variables to set the information into their new fields. It then closes that form on the onload event, and we then close FRM main, and then we just reopen FRM main. And at the very end, we remove all temporary variables. Okay. And we'll save and close. And in the go back to form view, and to show you that all three buttons work, I'll hit them all again. 1, save it, 2, and 3. Okay, so all three buttons work. All right, well, thank you very much for your attention, and in the next video we'll create some more buttons and show you a technique for placing buttons at different places in the tab form that we have at the top. There's one other special thing that has to happen. In this situation, we're putting all buttons in the first tab. You can put buttons in the corresponding tab, so you can actually hold a lot of buttons, probably an infinite number. Probably you could have over 6,000 buttons if you were so motivated. But for most specialties, mine happens to be otolaryngology. I don't use more than 300 different CPT codes, and you can actually get that information from your academies. And I'll probably in a later video create another table and maybe another search box that will specifically be for my specialty. Anyway, let's close it, and we'll hope to see you in the next video.